I'm Belkys Perez. Today on Coral Gables Now, more and more people are losing their homes and their livelihoods. We'll talk to an expert on how to cope with that type of loss and turn a bad situation into a positive one. While the economy is also taking a toll on some local businesses, one store is actually growing. We'll find out what's their recipe for success.
Parking will be easier for people with disabilities here in downtown Coral Gables. I'll explain coming up on City News.
Does the idea of dining under the stars appeal to you? Learn about a monthly event that lets you do just that while helping to boost our local economy. Coral Gables Now starts right now.
Welcome to the award-winning Coral Gables Now. I'm Belkys Perez. It's probably safe to say we all know of someone who has lost their job or home in this economy. Understandably, their sense of loss can be overwhelming. Certified grief counselor and life transition coach Ligia Hubin says you can transform that loss and grief into a positive, life-changing experience. And she joins us today to explain how that process works. Thank you, Ligia, for being here with us. Tell me, as you are a Coral Gables resident, and I think that's important to point out as well, and you just released a book titled Transform Your Loss, Your Guide to Strength and Hope. Have you noticed that in this economy, we're seeing a lot more of that loss?
Yes, Belkys, thank you. Well, in this economy, we are experiencing many losses on top of the expected losses that we go through, like the loss of a loved one, a divorce, separation, loss of health. Because of the times we are living now, we are experiencing more losses, like economical losses, loss of a job. So these losses can also be manifested into other losses because, for example, it can be a primary loss to lose a job or, economic losses. But at times it can also have like a domino effect because it may have an impact on your relationship with your spouse, your partner, and to the point that sometimes couples cannot stand that, so it produces a breakup, a divorce or separation. It also may affect our health because with losses this type, we suffer from stress if we do not learn how to handle it. So if we allow stress to sink in, then that also can produce loss of health. We can even have like heart attacks if we don't really keep those stresses down. So as we can see, one primary loss, in this case financial loss, if not handled with tools that can allow you to keep on going, it can be very devastating in life.
Have you seen now with this situation that we're in that there's many different people that are losing their jobs and houses? Have you seen a trend in different people who are asking for help, that are coming forward to get help?
The thing is that when we lose someone, for example, it's public. And it's like we are allowed, in quote, to express our grief. That grief is the expression, that we're suffering a loss. So we even have the rituals, the funerals, to express that. We have support group, our family come together, our friends come together. With a loss of a job or financial losses, that doesn't happen very often because people want to, most people want to keep on the status quo. So it is very difficult to accept that that kind of loss has happened.
And you need that process as well, the same grieving process that you would have. You would need some sort of process like that. It would help?
Yes, because a loss is a loss. Okay. It's like when the definition will go like when something or someone very dear to us is not with us anymore. So we experience grief. And of course, the context is different. Losing a loved one, losing a job. But we go through a process, and that would be the ideal, I would say, if we allow that to happen, because if not, if we pretend that nothing has happened, and that's why in the book that you mentioned, I offer 11 principles to transform your loss. The first principle is accept your loss. Accept not meaning to be passive about it, no? But if something happened to you, it happened. And if we go into this denial, it hasn't happened, we don't want to see it, or to pretend things are the same, we may get into more problems. For example, talking about the economy, you know, if we do not take a pause and think and see, okay, this has happened to me, I am facing this now. I'm not saying it's easy, I know it is not easy, but it's just like, okay, what am I going to do with this? Where am I going? Because if we pretend nothing has happened, then we may even incur in debts, you know, in more economical crisis. Exactly. So I would say that the first thing is to accept there has been a change, there has been a loss, because when a loss happens, there's a change. Life is not the same, you know, there's change. And as human beings, sometimes we resist change. It is not easy.
Let me ask you, because it's so difficult to understand that out of a death or a job loss, a foreclosure, all of those are life-changing experiences, but they're so negative that you really can't. I can't visualize how I can turn to something positive. How can you turn something like that, a loss of a job or a loss of your house that you've invested so much in, into a positive thing?
I know what you said, that they are difficult, and it has to do a lot with the cognitive appraisal of the situation. You know, among psychologists, and actually today, this morning, very early, because I'm working in another book, I was doing research and I came about with traumas, you know, and there's a lot of emphasis among researchers and psychologists on what is called post-traumatic growth, because it is incredible. We are seeing more and more that people are so able to get those resources that we have inside of us, because we all do, and apply them. And it has to do with your cognitive appraisal, how you appraise the situation. The situation is there, painful, difficult. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to choose? Because remember, we all have choices. Our attitude depends on the choices we make. So are you going to stay there and choose to stay there and just say, like, see what has happened to me and stay there and just be dwelling on the situation? Because it's different to go through the grieving process than to be dwelling and staying there. And the other thing is like, well, let's see what I can do about this. And we have seen people going through these incredible transformations, even despite pain and crisis. And well, the famous Viktor Frankl, have you ever heard of him? He's a psychiatrist that he was in the concentration camp. And he suffered tremendously. And he did studies on the prisoners of war, and he saw how amazing the prisoners who found meaning in their suffering could make it. And it, you know, developed into what is called logotherapy. Logo is meaning and all that, no? But that is very strong now, because the thing is to find meaning on what has happened to you. What happened, you cannot change it, but you can change how you respond, not react, how you respond to
And
that.
how do you change it? How do you go about, are those steps that you have in your book, are those the steps that you go about to change your attitude?
Well, the principles take you from the first one, no? That would be accept your loss or your transition, no? And then the second one, as I say, that I believe a lot in going through the grieving process, is live your grief. Live it, feel it, because grief can be